Ashes of Creation is one of the most ambitious MMOs in recent times. Everyone talks about the node system, the incredible graphics, and the promise of a truly living world. But what about the things no one is telling you? Today, we're going deep into 10 curiosities and hidden truths behind the game. Some that might get you hyped, and others that might make you rethink that hype. I'm Matthew, and the video starts right now. The multiple mounts mechanic in Ashes of Creation is one of those ideas that seems simple on paper, but ends up completely changing the feeling of exploration. Being able to carry several mounts and swap between them instantly gives you enormous freedom, and this is the kind of detail that shows the team's care in keeping the game alive, dynamic, and adaptable to each player's style. What stands out the most is the practical impact of this in a world as vast as Ashes of Creation. Different terrains require different strategies. A desert calls for speed and stamina, while a dense forest might need agility and vertical mobility. Having the right mount for every situation makes the player feel truly prepared for any journey. It's one of those mechanics that rewards immersion and planning. Beyond utility, there's also the factor of collectability and personal style. Mounts in MMOs have always been a way to express identity, and with this mechanic, you can take that even further. Instead of having one favorite fixed mount, the player can create a sort of travel squad, a dragon to cross mountains, a courser for the plains, and maybe an aquatic creature to conquer lakes and rivers. This variety also creates room for emergent strategies. Imagine exploring a dangerous area, mounting a fast animal to escape an ambush, and then immediately switching to a flying mount to reach a safe high ground. This flexibility not only makes the gameplay more fluid, but also more cinematic. It's the kind of mechanic that transforms ordinary travel moments into little adventures of their own. This system is proof of how Ashes of Creation understands the spirit of exploration. It's not just about getting to the destination faster, but enjoying the path, adapting to the environment, and feeling that every journey is unique. And when an MMO manages to make even the simple act of traveling fun and strategic, it's clearly on the right track. Aquatic mounts in Ashes of Creation are the kind of detail that many people underestimate at first, but later becomes indispensable. The first impression is thinking, oh, it's just to cross water faster. But the game treats this with real weight. Aquatic regions aren't there just as scenery. They are a living part of the world, full of routes, secrets, and unique challenges. And without an aquatic mount, you're going to feel the impact the hard way. What's interesting is that this mechanic gives a totally new meaning to the act of exploring. In many MMOs, water is just a visual obstacle or a map boundary, but here, it is an environment just as rich as the land. Rivers and coasts hide unique areas, marine creatures, and even strategic opportunities, especially in PvP. Having an aquatic mount stops being a luxury and becomes a necessity if you want to enjoy everything the game has to offer. Furthermore, there's the aspect of immersion and atmosphere. Mounting an underwater creature, diving, and watching the world change around you brings an almost cinematic sensation. The pace slows down, the sound becomes muffled, and suddenly, you find yourself navigating through ruins or schools of fish, totally immersed in that environment. It's easy to forget you're in an MMO, and not in a solo adventure made for contemplation. Another point is the balance between utility and personal style. Not all aquatic mounts will be the same. Some focus on speed, others on stamina or carrying capacity. This creates an additional layer of strategy, choosing which one to ride depending on the type of trip or mission. It's like building your own movement loadout, but adapted for the seas and rivers of the world. These mounts represent Ashes of Creation's commitment to the idea of a truly living world. The game doesn't want the player to just pass through biomes. It wants you to face them, explore them, and connect with each one. And when even the water gains gameplay depth, you can see the game is trying to go beyond the basics. This curiosity about Ashes of Creation is one of the boldest and smartest design decisions an MMO has adopted in recent times. Hiding the enemy's exact HP in PvP might seem like a small thing, but it completely changes the way combat works. Instead of simply staring at a health bar and coldly calculating the right moment to use an ultimate ability, the player needs to feel the rhythm of the fight, notice visual cues, and understand the opponent's behavior. It's almost like going back to the days when games forced you to observe more and rely less on the interface. The interesting thing is that this choice puts everyone in a zone of uncertainty. Neither you nor the enemy knows for sure who is closer to dropping. This creates real tension, something many modern MMOs have lost. There isn't that mechanical feeling of, okay, 10% HP left, I can finish them now. Here, combat turns into a game of reading and intuition, as if it were a duel between warriors trying to guess each other's limits. Additionally, this mechanic favors those with real-time interpretation skills. Attentive players will start to notice that certain movements, animations, or even small pauses might indicate the enemy is in trouble. It's a different meta, one where mastery doesn't come just from reflexes or skill cooldowns, but from observation. This makes battles much more exciting and cinematic, with every victory feeling like something truly earned. There's also a strategic side to this. Hiding HP makes room for bluffs and psychological pressure. You can pretend to retreat to bait them and force the opponent to make a mistake. The system transforms PvP into something more human, where behavioral reading counts just as much as mechanical technique. It's like watching a gladiator fight. Every move could be the last, and no one knows for sure when that will happen. This hidden HP is proof that Ashes of Creation wants to rescue the sense of danger and immersion of old-school MMOs, but with a modern layer of unpredictability. It makes you fight with your senses, not just with numbers. And when a game forces the player to observe, react, and truly feel the combat, it's a sign that it's trying to do something that goes beyond a simple digital contest. It's trying to create a duel of instinct and perception. This mechanic of real death penalties inside the game is the kind of thing that separates casual players from those who really like to feel the weight of their actions within an MMO. In many modern games, dying has become almost irrelevant. You respawn in a few seconds without major consequences. But not here. Dying means losing items and even a portion of your experience progress. This completely changes the player's mindset, because every combat and every decision starts to carry a real risk. The fact that XP debt exists is particularly interesting. Instead of simply losing a level, the game puts you in a state where progress is slower until you pay off that debt. It's as if the character truly needed to recover from the defeat. This approach turns the post-death grind into a period of reconstruction, not just an arbitrary penalty. Is it frustrating? Yes, but it is also incredibly satisfying when you recover and feel like you beat the system. This type of design places enormous value on survival and cooperation with other players. Before facing a dungeon or entering risky PvP, you think twice, prepare better, and end up valuing every item and every victory more. Suddenly, the loot you carry isn't just a number in the inventory. It's something that can define your fate if you are reckless. This sensation of constant risk is what brings adrenaline and authenticity to the experience. Another strong point is the psychological impact. When there is a real cost to dying, you feel tension and respect for the world, elements that many MMOs cast aside by making everything easier. Death stops being a respawn screen and becomes an event that marks your journey. And the coolest part is that this philosophy encourages group play. Dying alone is risky, but surviving with your allies creates intense stories and memories. This real penalty mechanic transforms Ashes of Creation into an MMO that truly lives up to its name. From the ashes of defeat, you must rise again. Every step requires thinking, planning, and risking with purpose. It might seem punitive at first glance, but it is exactly this that gives weight and meaning to every victory. When you grow again after losing everything, you realize the game made you value what many others forget: the genuine feeling of conquest. The Glint system is one of those ideas that show how the game wants to give importance even to the smallest details of the economy. This special currency isn't just another secondary change. It is essential for anyone who wants to dominate the upgrade and progression system. The best part is that it comes from events and drops, which means direct effort inside the game is rewarded. You feel like you are earning something truly valuable, not just an abstract number on the screen. What's most interesting is the power dynamic that Glint creates. Since it is so important for evolving equipment and improving the character, it ends up becoming almost a status symbol among players. Whoever has a lot of Glint has power, and whoever spends it poorly gets left behind. This adds an extra layer of strategy to inventory management because every decision on how and when to use it can impact your long-term progress. And then comes the practical detail, the famous right-click to condense Glint quickly. It might seem like a simple function, but it's one of those small quality-of-life options that make a difference in the daily grind. Instead of leaving the inventory a mess with piles of coins scattered around, you can optimize everything with one click. This shows how the developers really thought about the player's routine, its efficiency without sacrificing economic depth. Glint also encourages a dynamic economy among players. Because it is a currency linked to events and drops, it creates a constant cycle of activity in the world. There is always something to farm, something to trade, something that can give you more of an edge in upgrades. It's the kind of resource that moves the server and keeps the community alive because everyone is always keeping an eye out for opportunities to earn more. In the end, you can say that Glint is king isn't an exaggeration. It's a faithful portrait of the importance of this currency to the heart of the game. It represents progress, planning, and even prestige within the community. Knowing how to manage your Glint is almost an art. The more you understand the system, the more you realize that mastering this economy is just as important as mastering the battlefield. The profession upgrade system is one of the smartest decisions an MMO can make to value manual labor and specialization. Here, your crafting and gathering skills don't evolve on their own over time or with automatic use. You need to look for specific items and apply upgrades manually. This transforms every step of progression into an achievement and not merely a passive grind. It's as if the game is saying, you want to be a master? Then prove it. This mechanic forces the player to explore, plan, and even negotiate with others. It's no use just clicking repeatedly on a tree or rock and expecting to level up. You need to find rare materials, participate in events, or even trade with other players. This gives enormous weight to every upgrade because you know it wasn't just time that brought you there. It was effort, strategy, and dedication. The feeling of evolution is much more real. Furthermore, this approach avoids the common problem of professions becoming just an automatic routine. Here, every choice matters. You can specialize in a single skill and hunt for the right items, or try to balance several and face bigger challenges. And if you don't do the upgrades, your profession genuinely stays locked. There are no shortcuts. This creates a sense of urgency and purpose, because every decision directly affects your potential in the game. What's most interesting is that this system also values the game environment. Resources aren't infinite, and materials for upgrades are usually linked to events, specific regions, or unique missions. This encourages exploration, interaction with other players, and even the emergence of local economies. The world seems alive because people are constantly searching for something, negotiating, sharing, or competing for rare resources. At the end of the day, this manual upgrade system shows that Ashes of Creation wants the player to feel truly responsible for their progress. There is no easy path, no automatic evolution. Every step needs to be earned. And it is precisely this difficulty that makes every victory more significant, every specialization feel more valuable. Whoever masters a profession here isn't just a character, they are a true artisan. This node citizenship thing in Ashes of Creation is one of those things that seems like a typical MMO detail, but it totally changes the way you engage with the world. It's not just, I live here because the bank and mail are close. When you become a citizen of a node, you are basically choosing a piece of the world to call home, with very concrete benefits and, at the same time, responsibilities that will weigh on your pocket and your playstyle. The good side is very tempting. Exclusive buffs, access to quests that only appear for residents of that node, maybe even special services and more advantageous trade routes. This creates a strong sense of belonging. Instead of just being player X from server Y, you become the guy from that specific node, with stories, local political drama, rivals, allies, everything revolving around that choice. It's the kind of thing that makes the world seem alive and not just a giant map with random NPCs. But then comes the part many people forget. The mayor collects taxes, and it's not a cosmetic tax. It's a tax that messes directly with your economy. Higher market fees, service costs, maybe even a cut of your crafting and trading profits. In other words, that mayor you helped elect, or who took power some other way, can literally make your life more expensive inside the game. Politics isn't just RP, it invades your wallet. And this opens up space for some very interesting situations. Imagine enjoying the buffs, taking the exclusive quests, but starting to feel the tax is abusive. Suddenly, that neighboring node starts to look more attractive, with a friendlier economic policy. You start to weigh, is it worth staying here, where I already have reputation and connections, or migrating to a place with better rates, even if I lose part of the comfort and history I've already built? In the end, this citizenship plus tax mechanic takes the MMO far out of that autopilot mode where cities are just hubs. Ashes of Creation is basically asking you to think like a resident and not just an adventurer. Those who like economy, politics, and feeling that community decisions really matter will have fun and get stressed a lot with this. And honestly, it's exactly this kind of friction that makes the world memorable. When the buff you love comes with the little tax you curse but keep paying, until you decide to start a revolution or move houses. This business of resource nodes migrating is exactly the type of mechanic that separates convenient farming from a living world. Instead of that eternal ore spot you memorize and return to every day like it's a bus stop, the game says, it's over here, now figure it out and go look somewhere else. It makes you feel lazy just thinking about it, but at the same time, it creates a much more interesting dynamic for those who enjoy exploration. The comparison with Star Wars Galaxies isn't for nothing. There, people who took the game seriously were almost obsessed with tracking where the best resources would appear, as if it were a sort of server weather forecast. In Ashes of Creation, this promises something similar. It's not enough to know where the ore was yesterday, you have to be attentive to the world today. This makes you pay attention to the landscape, to alternative routes, to regions you would normally ignore. In practice, this means that the comfort of farming on auto while listening to a podcast diminishes, and a more active playstyle takes the stage. Those who like maps, discovering hidden corners, and recognizing terrain by visual details will thrive. You can already imagine groups of players acting like hotspot hunters, sharing the location of new nodes as if it were privileged stock market information. Another thing this mechanic affects is the economy. If a good node disappears, that resource stops entering the market in large quantities for a while, which drives up prices, generates disputes, and even guild conflicts in promising areas. And when a new spot appears, the first ones to find it have a huge advantage. So it's not just exploration for immersion, it's exploration with real impact on your wallet and your guild's strength. Migratory nodes take the game out of that comfort zone where everything is fixed and predictable. It's work, yes, but it also creates stories. The day you found an absurd node in the middle of nowhere, the day you fought another party for a newly discovered spot, or when you guided your friends to an area no one in the group knew. Instead of memorizing coordinates, you start to truly know the world. This idea of bearing items suits players who like to create unique moments within the server perfectly. Instead of just dropping loot or doing a direct trade, you transform the world itself into part of the fun, almost as if you were setting up a mini tabletop event inside the MMO, but with real people falling for it. This mechanic encourages creativity because the value isn't just in the item, but in how you get the crowd to reach it. You can use this in a very positive way, turning it into pure social content. A guild can set up a treasure hunt for newbies, place clues in iconic places, use specific map points to tell a story that only participants understand. The fun stops being just the final prize and becomes the journey, the inside jokes, the memories of that day when everyone got together to look for a chest buried in the middle of nowhere. At the same time, it's a perfect tool for those who enjoy playing mind games. Burying an item in a suspicious area, in a narrow corridor, near a choke point, is almost an invitation for PvP. You know someone will take the bait, go there trusting the free loot, and find a squad waiting. This type of trap doesn't depend just on damage. It depends on reading player behavior, which makes the conflict much more interesting. The coolest part is how this reinforces the feeling that the map has a memory. Every place can carry a story. An epic treasure hunt happened here. A famous ambush was there. In another corner, there was a guild event open to the whole server. Over time, certain points become almost legendary places among the community, not because the game marked them, but because players used the mechanic creatively. Burying loot isn't just a gameplay trick, it's a way to give a face to the server. Those who like roleplay, community events, smart trolling, and creating emergent narratives will get a lot out of this. It's the type of system that doesn't shine alone on paper, but in the hands of the right community, it becomes a factory for stories, clips, and conversations like, "Bro, you won't believe what they did to us yesterday." Look, this corruption mechanic is one of those things that really gets me excited about the potential of this MMO. The idea that the world literally reacts to your choices, or your lack of action, is something few games manage to implement for real. It's not just a cosmetic system or an isolated mechanic. It is a living force that shapes the environment itself around you. When you think that corruption isn't just a debuff on your characters, but something that geographically transforms the world, it becomes clear that the developers are trying to create real consequences for player inertia. What impresses me the most is how this corruption spreads organically. If you and your guild decide to ignore a corrupted area because it's not our problem right now, it doesn't simply freeze waiting for you to come back. It grows, spreads like a real disease, consuming neighboring territories. It's almost like watching a forest fire. The longer you wait to act, the bigger the problem gets, and the more resources will be needed to contain it. This approach forces players to prioritize and cooperate, because letting corruption spread can mean losing entire farming areas, trade routes, or even strategic points. Changing biomes and new mobs spawning add a layer of unpredictability that keeps the world always fresh. Imagine that lush forest where you used to farm basic materials is now covered by a purple mist, with much more aggressive corrupted creatures roaming there. This doesn't just change the aesthetics, it completely changes the gameplay of that region. You need to adapt your strategies, form larger groups, or simply avoid the area until someone takes the initiative to clean it up. It is a dynamic cycle that makes the world less static and more responsive. Now, when corruption starts destroying nodes, that's when things get real serious. Nodes are the heart of community progression in Ashes of Creation. They are the cities and settlements players build collectively over weeks or months. Seeing all that work threatened by a force you and your community ignored creates genuine tension. It's not just about losing resources or access to vendors. It's about seeing the server's collective legacy being eroded. This turns corruption management into a shared responsibility, where guilds need to coordinate and prioritize the defense of what they built together. And to tie it all together, seasons changing weekly in real time add one more layer of urgency and dynamism. It's not a slow cycle you can plan months in advance. It's weekly, constant, relentless. This means the world never stops evolving, and you need to be constantly attentive to what is happening around you. This combination of corruption spreading autonomously and seasons changing regularly creates an MMO that genuinely feels alive and in constant transformation, where your attention and action, or lack thereof, have real weight on the state of the world.